Welcome back to another Reading and Correcting with me, Kindar, the Tiger Writes, and Ty, the Tiger Supervisor. These are where I read a chapter from one of my stories to correct it as I go. If you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch and YouTube. And if you want to support me, that is on my Patreon. Today we are doing chapter 105 of The World Which Is. The trek home is, well, I'm not going to say uneventful, but nothing to spend all that much time on either. I mean, it's pretty much just more of the same. 2 more years of more of the same. 2 years of avoiding cities and mostly avoiding people. When we can't avoid settlements, we mainly stick to villages or towns that don't control entry. There aren't a lot of those. As you can imagine, of traveling almost exclusively in the wilderness, there are monster fights. A lot of them. Enough, I gained 4 levels by the time I get home. There are enough close calls where I lose my distance advantage that I aim for either striding so I can get the teleportation branch of magic. I put a point in it after 3 levels. That and healing magic really changes how the fighting goes. Not that we still don't nearly get our asses handed to us a few times after that, but we survive and we get stronger. Silver's combat songs get pretty impressive. Beyond the direct attacks, she composes a handful of songs that boost us when we have to fight hand to hand. She even comes up with one that makes magic less expensive. Not significantly, but it still impresses Ellen. Brandon takes us south until we almost reach Memphis, then we go east until past Charlotte, and then it's north to Toronto. From Kansas City to Memphis, we barely get any rest. The thought that Richard is on our heel pushes us nearly to the breaking point. Me and Brandon come to blows eventually. Both our tempers are, oh yeah, both our tempers at the edge, and the numbers insisting I can take him. I can't. But I think I surprise him with how hard he has to fight to bring me down. We were weeks out of the city by then, and Ellen forced us to slow down. Blasted Brandon into a river when he tried to tell her she wasn't in charge. He's surprisingly fire-resistant in his armor, or she went easy on him. I was okay with slowing down by then. Having to fight the numbers during each of my turns on watch, it was exhausting in its own right. We remained on our guard well past Memphis. Brandon was certain Richard would fall on us the moment we let it down. It wasn't until a week after that he finally accepted that we might have lost him. Fortunately for us, that didn't prove to be overconfidence. With the care we put into changing our appearance, which, after months of travels in the wilderness, wasn't that hard, and minimizing when we entered settlements, we grew more and more at ease with the travels. I even started appreciating the scenery again. Brandon utterly refused to take the journal when I tried handing it to him. He called me so many names that, if I thought he meant them, I'd be offended. Instead, I paid way too much when I came across someone with papers to sell and transcribed it any time we were inside a building. Aaron has had really interesting adventures, let me tell you that. The first winter of that trek wasn't all that hard. We were south enough, it was mostly cold temperatures and colder rain. Although the nights it snowed, we were stuck in place for a few days. The second one, it nearly killed us. We have bad winters in court, but I forget how having a town, makes even the worst ones easier to deal with. Even outside of base, who can just make the snow vanish, guards, that's Pearl, and street crews will clear the snow. See to it everyone has firewood, water, and food. Yes, Court basically comes to a full stop when the bad storms hit, but I can't remember when someone died because of them. We almost died a few times that winter. No matter how prepared we thought we were, and Brandon always thought he'd prepared enough, there would be a storm that reminded us we weren't in charge. When we were attacked by monsters in the middle of one, that was particularly painful. Silver lost an eye to that battle, but she's the reason we won. Fuck, I never want to be on her bad side. Silver's music, when she's pissed, gets really dark, and much to Ellen's bafflement, that makes it much stronger. Everything she knows tells her emotions don't do anything to magic. But it's a reminder that every class has its own way of working. We really should have found a village for the rest of the winter after this first storm, but we never grew complacent enough to believe Richard couldn't find us if we stayed in the same place for any amount of time. Silver went her own way when we reached Buffalo. By then, she called herself the Sterling Bard, and figured that with the muscles she'd gain and the eye patch, Richard wouldn't know her if they crossed paths. Brandon wasn't so confident, but there was one thing he had no if there was one thing he had no confidence in, it's Richard. He is utterly terrified of the man. He refuses to go into details, and I didn't press. I figure I'll ask my family about him when I get home. Taking the ferry from Niagara to Toronto is stressful. Confined space filled with strangers is begging to have Richard appear, but he doesn't. Entering Toronto is simple enough. We identify ourselves. Ellen even gets differential treatment when she gives her last name. I guess her elven appearance is enough to confirm who her parents are and that they are respected here. She doesn't let me just head home from there. She doesn't even let Brandon contemplate going his own way. She brings us home with her, me to introduce to her parent and him, so he won't have a choice but to explain himself to them. That part doesn't go the way she expects, I think. Their parents are nice. They welcomed me and Brandon with open arms. His father did question Brandon, and the sense of disappointment stole most of Brandon's bravado when he answered. Handing his mother the necklace he'd taken years before was met with pride on their part. The most interesting thing, from my point of view, is that there is never a sense they are surprised he and Ellen came back. Like, they never doubted their children would survive the wild. Ellen's boyfriend, on the other hand, can't keep his hands off her. Like, he can't believe she's real. She's amused by it. I'm there for a week. I don't fight very hard to leave before that. As much as I want to get home, after 2 years of wilderness, I soak in civilization. It also lets me finish my going away present to Brandon, because in spite of his promise to see me to court, I can tell on that first day he doesn't want to leave home. When I hand him the new journal containing all my transcription of Aaron's entry. Of Aaron's entries, he's almost scared of it. Like, even that puts him at risk of falling under Richard's spell. But this time, when I tell him that he has nothing to worry, that he is a good person, it's not me hoping. It's not me trying to convince him. I know it. It's not me trying to convince him. I know it. That's going to be a different paragraph. I've seen it over 2 years of traveling without anything for him to gain other than returning home. He did nothing grand, although I won't be surprised if I hear one of Sterling's ballad proclaiming Brandon some hero of legend. His acts of goodness were small, almost invisible. Helping a woman carry packages, playing with children, standing in front of an enraged bull. Okay, that one's not small. But just for the other surprise on the bull's face when it rammed Brandon and it was the one to bounce away, it was worth it. I think me telling him he's a good person is the first time he believes it. We have sex that night for the first time. Believe it or not, Brandon never made a move on me. Even once he was free of Richard. I could see he wanted to, and I thought about it a few times, especially on those freezing nights. Brandon is hot in more sense than just his looks. He generates a lot of body heat. He wasn't boasting about how good he is. Even after all the sex I've had, he rates at the top. Or maybe it's just that I care about him a lot. He saw me through a lot, regardless of his reasons. Leaving is harder than I expect. He and Ellen are like siblings I like the siblings I don't have by then. And knowing this is the last time I'll see them unless they visit, because I'm never coming back to Toronto. Okay, I am missing information here. He and Ellen are like siblings I don't have by then. And knowing this is the last time I'll see them unless they visit is is painful. Because I'm never coming back to Toronto. Well, once I'm home, I'm never leaving court. I can't. I'm too dangerous. The numbers, they never stop. They're always there at the back of my mind. Everyone I meet or just see, they run. And with being level 24, it's the rare person where they don't turn up in my favor. In a city like this, it's just a question of time before I lose this fight. Brandon walks with me to the caravan corral east of the city. He wavers between apologizing for breaking his promise and explaining why he can't leave right now. And no matter how often I tell him it's okay, he starts over. It's downright comical. He lets me go with a promise to visit at some point, but I won't hold him to that. I know he pulled the pull of home. And I think he finally feels like he's home instead of just being someplace he lives part of the time. I walk home. I know there's a chance Richard is waiting for me there. That if he, that if he is, I'm not. That if he is, I'm not winning that fight. I don't know what he is, but I'm not sure he's human. Or I've just turned him into a monster. It's not like I've interacted all that much with him. But Brandon never lost his terror of him. That has to mean something. The walk from Toronto to court is downright boring. To the point I head north off the road a few times just for monsters to fight. There's nothing approaching my level in those parts, but it's still more fun than the nothing of the road. The fields take my breath away. It's early enough in the summer, the wheat and barley don't keep me from seeing court, but they are what I watch for a long time. As the wind moves the stalks, makes them a sea of, with waves and currents. I have to dry my tears more than once as I walk toward home. Farmers wave at me as they work, but there's no sense of recognition from them or from me. The fact nearly 4 years passed since I left actually sinks in. These farmers would have been kids who trained with me, been to class with me. I was a kid when I left. Now, I'm definitely not one anymore. Entering the town feels profound. We don't have guards at the gate. They're on the walls watching the road and fields, but we let anyone who wants enter. We are a very welcoming town. Or we are incredibly naive. It's disconcerting how I now think like that. Not a lot has changed, but what does catches me by surprise. There's the remnant of a fire that took three buildings where the town potter used to be. One of Dad's favorite baker is now an alchemist. Here and there, changes I never expected happened. And I'm reminded that even my town changes. I make a detour because I have to. And probably the biggest change stands before me, although it doesn't hit me with the force I expect. Josie's there at a loom with the open front of her within the open front of her parents' house, sending the thing back and forth, and she's pregnant. Sending the shuttle back and forth, and she's pregnant, very pregnant. That she's weaving is almost more shocking than her state. I never envisioned her as as something as mundane as a weaver. She was always a guard in my imagination. Fuck, she was the one in charge of all the guards. In those fantasies, she was my wife, future commander. Fuck, is it weird that her pregnant weaving, looks more natural than her fighting monsters in my imagination. When she glances in my direction, there's no recognition, and that hurts. I can't have changed that much. 4 years isn't that long. 4 years of fighting monsters, fighting for my life, learning the world is a lot harsher and much more beautiful than I ever imagined. Okay, maybe I have changed that much. Can I help you? I smile. Hi, Josie. She frowns, studying me. For a second there, I don't think she'd recognize me. Then her eyes widen. She's up and before more? She's up and all before me. A round belly touching my armor. Dennis? Being hugged by a pregnant woman is awkward. You're alive. Where have you been? What's happened to you? System, why the fuck didn't you tell me you were leaving? That anger is familiar and comforting. Josie was never someone who you wanted pissed at you. I escort her to her loom and so she can sit and give her the ultra sanitized version of the last 4 years. It doesn't take long. Should I be jealous? My man says in a mocking tone. I'm on my feet before I realize it, but fortunately, I keep from equipping my sword. The man is taller than I am and muscular, but there's a softness to them that makes me think he doesn't work hard at them. Okay. I don't need, but there's a softness, I don't need to add to them. There's a softness that makes me think he doesn't work hard at them. That they happen more by accident than intent. It's his job that gives them to him. The numbers are running seconds before I realize who that is. Kyle, she exclaimed happily. You're home. She hugs him, and the familiarity with which he hugs her back makes it clear he's the father. You remember Dennis? His expression is utter disbelief as he takes me in. McLeod, Dennis? That Dennis? Abandoned his family in the night, Dennis? The attempt at a mocking tone doesn't hit the same when his expression is still that he can't believe what he's seeing. I'm pretty sure it's not that I'm here. Kyle Price never had much of an opinion of me, and now I realize it was probably because of who my family is. Well, we're not in charge of anything. My grandfather is the town commander. Base, and he's just the son of a cobbler. His constant attempt to put me down takes on a new aspect. One that, after my time outside, feels kind of sad. It's good to see you again, Kyle. I offer him my hand and he hesitates. I don't have to do anything for him to know I'm stronger now. Whatever weakness he ever thought being the grandson of the commander granted me has been carved out by the wilderness. I'm glad you make it back, he says, taking it, and that sounds like actual respect. Are you staying? That sounds worried. Yeah, I'm done adventuring. He nods. Josie, it was great seeing you. Take care of yourself. I want to meet the little one once they're here. Kyle, accompany me out. It's barely half a dozen steps outside the shop, but I'm not telling him what I need in it. His reluctance makes it clear he has a sense of what it will be, but he escorts me into the sun. If you ever hurt her, I say in a casual tone, you better pray to the system I never find out. I would never. There's desperation there. Good. But people change, Kyle. The smile I give him isn't friendly. I'm proof of that. If you ever feel yourself changing in that direction, remind yourself that I'm waiting afterward. Remind yourself that I'm nothing like the kid you loved to mock when we were younger. The numbers are utterly in my favor. There is no way some town kid like him grew into something that would even make me work at killing him. I'd barely get anything out of it, but if he hurts Josie, I'd still do it. I'm sorry for how I treated you, Dennis. Yeah, he can't finish that. But I take the apology for what it's meant. Have a good life, Kyle, and take care of them. I do not push threat into my tone. We might not have been friends, probably never will be, but Kyle isn't a bad person. Josie wouldn't have someone bad at her side. I return to my walk home. I'm a few streets away than I expect. I'm a few streets further away. Further away than I expect. I'm a few streets further away when his greeting comes. Yeah. I basically I want to establish that Base's range has grown a little, meaning he's gone up a level. I'm a few street. Okay, I think his greeting when it comes is earlier than I expect. I thought I was still. Oh wait. When it comes, I thought still outside his influence. There we go. That's better. Still need to fix a few things. Is greetings when it comes, there's a comma here, is earlier than I expect. I thought I was still outside his influence. Welcome home, Dennis. How did you know it was me? Believe it or not, you're the only explorer to set foot here. Base replies. Aaron never stopped by? I mean, I wouldn't have known about him back then, but Base? I don't know who that is. Aaron Centino, the explorer I got the class from. He had the power station as one of his fully explored ruins, so I thought he had to have stopped by court. The ability after Aether Striding is Aether Journey. With that ability, an explorer who has completely explored a ruin can use it as a gate between two of them. It's more complicated than teleportation, but it would still let him cross the continent easier than Richard could. I still never heard of him. If he visited, he never stepped within my sensor range. I guess that's possible, especially if Aaron knew about Base, and it's not like we keep him a secret. As I walk, I give him a less sanitized version of the previous 4 years. I tell him about Dardanus, as well as the fact that he won't be erased when a new commander takes over for Grandfather Lewis. In return, I learned grandmother passed the previous year, quietly in her sleep. Her health had been failing for the year before that, and she refused to take potions or use magic to fix it, only to take the pain away so she could enjoy her last days. She moved in with Dad, and he took care of her until the end. Dad. That didn't go as I hoped. He didn't explode at me, which is good. I was still afraid he'd see me as this kid he needed to protect from the world, that he'd make me leaving about him. But I wish the distrust hadn't been so loud in his eyes. I know I hurt him, leaving like that, with nothing more than a letter for an explanation, but I didn't think I'd lose my father then. He didn't see me as his son when he looked at me. There was no joy I was back, no anger, nothing. He was looking at the man who had stolen his son away, someone who couldn't have good intentions toward him. It made for a short reunion, but I wasn't going anywhere, so hopefully I'll be able to mend things. Base made me a home. I settled in and started working towards becoming part of court again. So, yeah, that's my story. Yes, I still have the journal. I'm not giving that to someone else, only for them to fall victim to Richard. I'm not giving it to Base for safekeeping because he told me some of what Richard did to him. Grandpa Lewis only cursed him when I asked for what the man had done. He's yet to show up, and when he does, I'll deal with him. Maybe I'll charm him into the forest, and he'll be the one I shove down a hole. It would be fitting, although if I do, I'm burying him in it. Burying him in it. But that's for when and if he ever shows up. Until then, I'll just be a guard. And that concludes the World Witches. There was... This is almost certainly the end. There are more stories in my mind about that. My mind works like that. I'm almost incapable of finishing a story and not looking ahead, looking back, looking sideways, and coming up with stuff. Like those are rarely actual stories, but they're ideas. They're what might have happened, what the world turns into. For those who have read or listened to, in this case, Feeling the Way, that's how it came about. Wanting to think about 30 years down the line, what did that world look like, and then having ideas and writing them. Most of the time, I don't have ideas. I just have scenes, thoughts, unconnected events. I do. There is a okay. The reason why I'm not going to write anything else in this unless something very significant happens is that with writing this, with forcing me to reach the end, I've learned that lit RPG is not for me as a writer. The taking the system into account, everything that comes into that, even pared down to the bare minimum, which you can probably realize because as the story progresses, the systems, everything system related kind of goes away. Like it's still there because I cannot remove it, but I find myself barely mentioning it. Like there's no pop-ups. There's, I think I did what 3 or 4 chapters without any pop-ups and yeah. And I, but even then, there's still stuff. There's still too much I need to keep track of. Skills, levels, experience points. Like they don't make it on the page, but I still kind of need to track them. And that is a kind of structure that runs contrary to how my discovery writer side works, and it makes it very, very hard. So as much as I would like to tell the next story, as much as I would like to go to the past, I've got 3 stories in the past that I would love to tell. I don't think it's gonna happen. This proved to be just too difficult. So yeah, this is the end of the World Witches. I may, and this is a very big may, clean it up. Basically, you make it uniform in its, remove the big system stuff from the start and all that. But if I do, it's gonna be. I don't know that I'm going to do it. There's no incentive for me to do it. This is clearly not a popular story. This is not a dig or anything like that. It's simply a statement of fact. If I wasn't someone who wants to finish what he starts, if I, especially here to quote unquote prove to myself if I could do this, I should probably have stopped this somewhere way earlier than this. But yeah, yeah. So, thank you. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you do, please leave a like. If you want to know when other stories are going up, subscribe, hit the bell. If you want to actually read this, it's on Royal Road for free. If you want to read other stuff I've read, support me. You have the choice of Ream's Story or Patreon. And if you want to listen to stuff like that live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch and YouTube. So I'm going to wish you a good day.